How's it going, everyone? It is me, Stateside, here with a new video. We're going to be looking at the 3 signings that Manchester United have to make this summer. So, of course, we're going to start off not start off. We're going to do 3 positions. Striker position, the midfield position that they potentially have already filled, and the goalkeeper position. I still want to give my opinion on that midfield position, even though it's likely going to be filled by the time this video is out, but I do want to talk about it anyways. Starting off in the striker position with Rasmus Højlund, the Atalanta striker is 6'3", the tallest player on this list, is in the 89th percentile for successful take-ons per 90, with 1.37 successful take-ons per 90. In this 90 percentile is compared, or 89th percentile is compared to forwards. As for his non-penalty expected goals, he's at 0.47 per 90, 2.27 or 2.75 shot creating actions per 90. That's in the 72nd percentile. He's obviously at Atlanta. He'd have a little more maybe opportunities attacking wise with a team like Manchester United. I'm not quite sure how quick he is or anything like that, so I can't really tell you about the play style of counterattacking that Erik ten Hag's been playing with United. Can't tell you really anything about that at all. I also don't know if Erik ten Hag may want to change his system. That could be a potential thing that happens in the coming years as Erik ten Hag kind of implements the players that he wants to bring in. And obviously that's going to be just our first option there. Let's go ahead and move on to the second one. Our second option, Victor Osimhen. Victor Osimhen, 0.87 non-penalty goals per 90. He's in the top 1% of strikers in Europe right now when it comes to non-penalty goals per 90. For non-penalty expected goals per 90, he's at 0.7, which is the 97th percentile. That means he is outperforming his expected goals by 0.17, which is the highest on this list, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. It is the highest on this list. As for passing numbers, though, he doesn't really have the opportunity in the counter to really play the passing that he needs to. He would be the last ball. The last ball would get to him. 13.59 passes attempted per 90 with Napoli this season, or in the last year. 68.7% completion percentage. So he's not making many passing attempts. He's also not completing many. He's 6'1" at Napoli. Obviously, you should know who he is in the season he had for Napoli, having an excellent season, having won the league, won the Golden Boot, I believe he did, and just all around a really good season for Victor Osimhen. As for the third player, we're going to go back to the Premier League here to talk about Harry Kane. 0.55 non-penalty expected goals per 90, 86th percentile. Lower, obviously, than Victor Osimhen, higher than Højlund. But he's at a non-penalty expected goal per 90 of 0.41. So that's the expected goal to goal difference is a 0.14 per 90 difference. His non-penalty expected goals per 90 is in the 64th percentile. But the thing that sets him apart, despite he's outperforming the expected goals per 90, but what sets him apart is his passing numbers. 0.17 expected assists per 90. That is in the 84th percentile of forwards. Of all forwards, he's in the 84th percentile of expected assist. 4.76 progressive passes per 90. That's in the 96th percentile. He really can drop back and truly play a counter-attacking style for United. He can work with Bruno well. I think him, Bruno, and Rashford. And then whether you want to put Sancho or Antony, maybe you put Antony on that right wing instead in this season. If you get a player like Harry Kane, it makes a lot more sense. Because you have that creator role in the striker, so you have could have more attacking roles on the right and left wing there. As for his other stats, 3.47 shot creating actions per 90. Obviously at Tottenham, his expected goals number isn't going to be as high. He's kind of just really a one-man show right now at Tottenham, especially this last season with Son not having a great season, not really having a creative midfielder. And obviously not a great season for Perisic, not the best season from Kulusevski, not a bad one though. But, he's the second tallest striker on this list at 6'2". And lastly, Goncalo Ramos, non-penalty goals per 90 is at 0.75. It's in the 98th percentile of strikers, which is very good number. But you have to look at the other number, which is non-penalty expected goals of 0.8, which is 0.05 more than his non-penalty goals, which means he's underperforming he's underperforming his expected goals at the moment, and that is what I think that he is not the best option for Manchester United. He's in the top 1% of non-penalty expected goals, but he's not getting all of those attacks. Obviously, 0.8 is such a high number of expected goals, and 0.75 is nothing to hang your hat on, but he isn't performing. What if he gets fewer chances? What if he doesn't get the 0.8? What if he gets a 0.4, like a 0.41 like Harry Kane? Is he able to get that 0.55? I don't think so. And that's why I do not have him. I probably put him fourth on this list of 4 players. As for his defensive ability, that is something to note. 1.38 clearances per 90. That puts him in the top 90th percentile or in the 90th percentile, so the top 10% of strikers in Europe. He's obviously at Benfica, so you got to take all of his stats with a little bit of a grain of salt. They just won the league, kind of a cakewalk for them. He's the smallest striker on this list, still 6 foot, still can give you an aerial presence, and still can give you a big player in the middle. But for the player I think we need to purchase for Manchester United, I think you need to buy Harry Kane next year as a free agent. Get him next year. Don't spend that money now. Daniel Levy is going to ask way too much, and that is not you don't need to do that right now. Bring in a striker right now that you can put on a 1 or 2 year deal. Somebody like a Wout Weghorst, but can score more goals, of course. A Danny Ings. Danny Ings would be fine for this season. I understand he's been struggling, but a Danny Ings for this season would do fine in the Premier League. Could do a better job than Wout Weghorst, and would be able to give you the time you need to get Harry Kane next year at Old Trafford. And that is the player that I think that Manchester United should go for. Our next position we're going to take a look at is the midfielders position. Obviously, they're very heavily linked with Mason Mount. I don't think they should go for Mason Mount personally, especially if he's going to be playing that 8 role for them. I don't think he can do that. First of all, I don't think he will be successful at that. Very poor defending numbers for Mason Mount, so you'd have to really rely on Casemiro in defense. Obviously, Martinez being a high-pressing, high-intensity player, it's not the end of the world, especially because United's been counterattacking, kind of having an 8 like that can really play the ball forward. It's really helpful. Looking at his per 90s as in comparison to other midfielders, he has bad defending numbers in comparison to other midfielders. Let's be clear. He looks good in attack. All of his attacking numbers compared to other midfielders is very good, of course. However, obviously these good numbers are coming in a season that's been bad for Chelsea as a whole, goals and assist-wise for Chelsea. And so 2.51 progressive carries is something to look at. He's in the top 15% of European midfielders. 3.58 shot creating actions. That puts him in the top 14% of European midfielders. And 5.95 progressive passes is a very solid number for Mason Mount to have compared to other midfielders. As for the next player on our list, we're going to take a look at Ryan Gravenberch, the Bayern Munich player. We're not even going to talk about his stats because his per 90 stats are so heavily inflated because he hasn't gotten a lot of minutes. He's barely played, high potential. He's previously worked with Ten Hag. He might be an inexpensive option that they can sneak in and get him because Bayern Munich, if you remember, did not pay much for Gravenberch. They got him for a really good deal, and they might be willing to sell him for a little bit of a profit, but they're not gonna be hurting if they don't make a lot of money off him because they didn't spend a lot of money on him. So it's not a big deal to them, in my opinion. I think that he's a player that could be an option, but I again don't think he's the player they need. Adrien Rabiot looks like a very boring option in my opinion. He's not the flashy name you want for Manchester United. He's not the flashy name that you think of when you think of Man United. However, his defensive work, fantastic. 0.25 non-penalty expected goals. That puts him in the top 4% of other midfielders. He's got 1.6 clearances, 1.57 aerials, won at 6'2". He is a presence in the midfield next to Casemiro. An absolute dominant figure. 2.4 progressive carries per 90 minutes. If you remember, I said that Mason Mount had 2.51, so not too far off. So 2.44 progressive carries per 90. He's in the top 16% of midfielders. He's at Juventus right now. I think they can get him for a cheap deal, especially because Juventus' entire team is going to look different next year, in my opinion. But I think Rabiot should be a player that they go consider. Now, in a perfect world, the player that Manchester United should sign in midfield is going to be this last player I talk about, and it's Frenkie de Jong. He's got pretty average defending numbers, so I wouldn't expect him to play a 6. However, this last year, he's got in the 97th percentile of passes attempted, completed percentage of passes, and progressive passes at 9.39. 9.39. That's almost 4 more progressive passes per 90 than Mason Mount had. 96th percentile progressive carries at 3.39. That is almost an entire progressive carry more than Mason Mount per 90. That is unbelievable numbers from Frenkie de Jong. He should be the player that Manchester United are targeting. But of course, no guarantee Frenkie de Jong would still decide to go to United. He obviously wasn't too interested last year. I don't see him being the option this year either. And for the player that I think they should buy, it's Frenkie de Jong. I just feel like that's an easy option, probably the best option. But because of budgetary finances, I would have went Rabiot over Mount. I would have actually saved the Mount money, gotten Rabiot, and then bought Harry Kane. But obviously, I don't know if Daniel Levy was even considering selling Harry Kane. So we'll see Harry Kane walk for free next year. This is a player. Harry Kane's a player I've obviously been asking to leave Tottenham over the last few days if you've been watching my videos. As for the goalkeeper situation, we're going to start off with Andre Onana, 81.3% pass completion. Excellent passer of the ball. One of the best passers in Europe at the goalkeeper position. He's in the 90th percentile in clean sheet percentage, 76.4% save percentage. That's in the top 12% of goalkeepers in Europe. Obviously a very, very good number. If you look at his post-shot expected goals minus his goals allowed, it's at 0.13, which is in the top 20% of goalkeepers in Europe. So again, very, very good numbers. In my opinion, he's one of the best goalkeepers in Europe right now, and I think whoever buys him is getting a steal. Up next, we're going to talk about Mike Maignan, Frenchman in the Serie A who's getting a lot more attention than Onana. And it's mostly because of his international performances since he's replaced Hugo Lloris. His post-shot expected goals minus his goals allowed is 0.03, which is 0.1 less than Onana. He's in the top 39%, of goalkeepers in that statistic. 35.7 clean sheet percentage. He's in the top 22% of goalkeepers in that statistic. And as for a save percentage of 71.9, that's only as good as 50%. That's only better than 50% of goalkeepers in Europe. For me, Maignan is a little bit overrated, a little bit too highly touted, and I think that he is a player that Manchester United should steer clear of. Up next, we have David Raya. Post-shot expected goals minus the goals allowed. Of course, the same stat we've read first for Maignan and Onana. He's equal with Onana at 0.13, top 20% of goalkeepers in Europe right now. 1.21 goals against, which it puts him at about the 66th percentile. So, top 44%, if you will, there. As for save percentage, this is where things get good. 77.7% save percentage. That was a lot of S's and P's. That was a lot. But that puts him in the top 8% of goalkeepers in Europe right now. That's exactly why I think that he's probably one of the best shot stoppers on this list. As for his clean sheet percentage, he's in the top 44 percentile again, 31.6%. But of these goalkeepers I'm going to be talking about, he's probably got the worst defense in front of him. Lastly, we're going to talk about Diogo Costa. Post-shot expected goals minus the goals allowed is 0.18. That puts him higher than any other player on this list, and it's in the top 19% of goalkeepers. 0.67 goals against per 90 in the last year. That puts him in the top 2% of goalkeepers this year. And for his save percentage, he's at 77.2%, which again is the top 18% of goalkeepers in Europe at this very moment. As for his clean sheet percentage, nearly 50%, 48.5. That puts him in the top 2% once again. But you have to take this, of course, with a grain of salt, just like you did Goncalo Ramos. He is playing in Portugal right now. And so he's got an excellent defense in front of him. Shots probably aren't great quality shots that he's saving. He's probably not facing many quality shots throughout the course of the season. So really the question is, you have to look at him and really see what he's made of. I think his save percentage is solid. I think his clean sheet percentage is solid, of course. But you have to add into context that he's probably facing very low percentage shots. Anyways, the goalkeeper I'm going to go with, this one should be pretty easy pick, I think. Andre Onana is the pick. He has to be the pick. I don't see how Mainen, David Raya, or Diogo Costa. Second for me is David Raya, just because he's Premier League proven. I think he's got a lot more to prove at a top 6 club. I thought he was going to Tottenham for the longest time. That was my pick for him initially. I'm pretty sure I even said in a video, despite the new goalkeeper signing, I think that he will end up there. Or no, Jordan Pickford would end up there. I just feel like that's David Raya will end up there instead. I just had to pick somewhere for Jordan Pickford to go. Shh, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. But that is all I have for this video, guys. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss another video. Comment down below videos you'd like to see, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.